Yeah, beautiful. Here we go. Office hours 30. For those who have not joined in the last few weeks, we have unfortunately canned our hand up ceremony at the start. It's retired. We had a lot of fun with it. Math got hard. We were breaking our brains. We have more important problems to solve. It was taking us like 10 minutes a day. So we're done with that. Welcome to anyone here. This is office hours. This is office hours number 30. We're hitting a 3. Man, what a crazy time. So anyone who's joined us, checked it out along the way. We're so grateful for all your support. Grateful to have you guys here today. And excited for a couple topics. We even did a little pre-planning on this one about the order that we want to go. I sort of forgot it already, but I'm sure we'll recover and get here. Quickly, 𝗨𝗏 𝗨𝗏, CEO. CEO is still a weird title, but I'll take it. And a lot of work right now dealing with customers, looking forward to the future, but also staying grounded in the present. And also investors and all the fun stuff that comes with, building a business. And it's a very exciting time right now, learning lots very, very quickly. And, excited to have this touch point every week to sort of share any insights along the way. So I'll let someone jump in here.
Go, 𝗕𝗨, digital strategist here at 𝗕𝗍, working on everything from the website to content to customer support and success when I can, and looking forward to number 30.
Very interesting, actually, to be connecting the two front end and the back end of our company. I'm in the back end product development, and Tim, and that's going to be an interesting hour ahead of us.
I'm Lauren. I am the accountant and administrator, doing a lot of work in security and just keeping pretty busy. Very, very busy.
That's awesome. Great new haircut as well, too, Lauren. Best looking person today. That's also a great shirt. So it's a battle here right now.
Appreciate that. Okay, this is exciting time. So just trying to show the excitement which I have. I'm 𝗲𝗏 𝗫 𝗙𝗍 last week I was deep into the changing on the architectural change, the system level architectural changes, and now also the 𝗕𝗏𝗶𝗴 recorder success last couple of weeks gets me excited, and also the setting up on the intercom, making sure the customer success is good to go, and we try to help as much as we can, as quickly as we can at the same time. So a lot of things are on the radar, and I'm looking forward to talk more about in the office hours.
Okay, well, 𝗕𝗨, I believe we're going to kick this off. As you do, I'm going to share the screen. I hope you're okay with that. It's going to be the website, so I would hope you're okay with it. It's published live on the web.
Yeah,
so.
we don't really have everything's always a work in progress.
Yeah, there we go. So I'm going to share this, and maybe 𝗕𝗨, maybe just talk a little bit. I mean, the perception obviously coming into the company, and then you've done a lot of work on the website, and then including the home page design. And then, there's obviously been a sort of transformation from our understanding of where we're providing the most value for our customers, and then also articulating that. So maybe a little bit of context there for why this homepage is, updated and what we're talking about.
Sure thing. So I guess to kick this off, when I came in to the company, I guess the homepage was very similar to the previous version we had up, where I don't believe I changed too much on the copy front or messaging, or even just like how we position ourselves. And now, if we were to start at the top here, the main message that we've, and I mean, this, I'm hoping to be able to A/B test this headline, and still our data set's still not large enough to do proper A/B testing, but with the shift towards focusing more on the output and how we actually help you make transcripts useful, shifting our messaging more from previously, I believe it was transcribe and analyze your media in one place, and now trying to put more emphasis on this idea of creating these accessible media databases that you are able to build either for yourself or for your company, whichever use case you find. And then, just the subtext is this whole idea of using AI, which is very prominent buzzword at this time, deep search and data visualization, which are the two elements of our system that we do believe we can expand on, and even just currently in its existing state, provide quite a bit of significant differentiation from some of the other just plain transcription providers out there. So, you know, if I were to use someone as an example, it's like, don't want to call them out, but they have been getting a lot of press, but something like Otter, right? Where all they really do for you, and I mean, they do it really well, is they let you automatically transcribe all your media, or all your meetings, not even your media, just, you know, strong focus on meetings, and let you transcribe that. But then, you know, it all just kind of sits in this giant repository, and the odds of someone actually using those recorded transcripts or recorded meetings to enact impactful change is very low. So our goal here is to try to get, and part of this would be the education of our customers of how do you now take this collection that you have and actually start gleaning insights from it, right? So if you also notice, previously we just had the starting a free trial button. Now we're playing around a little bit with scheduling a demo because we do think our platform is useful for the individual user, but there's definitely, you know, an individual user can only produce so much content, right? While if we're talking more enterprise use cases, that's when you're going to have thousands or hundreds to thousands of hours that you need to go through every week, every month, whatever it is. So far, not too many stats on how this is performing, but you know, our sign-up rate has stayed relatively the same. And here, just kind of calling out, trying to put social proof a bit higher up on the page. And this quote might be edited a bit as well, but you know, for now, just rallying around this idea that our system helps you beyond all the other functions that and features we have in the system. Our system helps with just reducing admin labor and the need for multiple different workflows. Now you can just take care of everything you need, from uploading your files to transcribing them to even assigning them to, let's say, individuals within your team that need to work with these files. You do that all within our system. And, you know, one of our lovely customers was kind enough to say this about, she said quite a bit more, but, you know, trying to just draw focus to the fact that their admin labor was significantly reduced. I'm not sure, Tyler, if you know, we were given like a rough percentage, but
the word was fraction. So fraction's nice, you know.
Fraction.
Fraction, like
Yeah.
you know what that
So
fraction
let's
is.
let's say by 80%, we'll
Yes.
make up our own.
Okay, there we go.
But you know, just being able to bring their entire workflow into our system, you know, the amount of time her as founder and her management team were spending on just organizing things was costing them a lot of money, and we were able to bring that in. So trying to draw some attention to that. So, you know, this whole idea of simplifying your workflow and bringing your capturing, transcribing, and analysis work all under one roof. And so here, just talking a bit about, you know, you get the multiple capture options. If you need cleanup of your transcripts, there's a human augmented element of it, where we do have a great team of transcribers that helps us bring your stuff up to 100%. And the final point is, you know, something that 𝗏𝗁's been really excited about and has been putting quite a bit of work into is this idea of making it as seamless as possible to bring your media from wherever it lives, bringing it into the system, right? So currently we work with 𝗏𝗏, or 𝗏𝗏𝗏, however you say it, to bring you connections from different avenues. And we also do have the API access if you need to build something, or just for people with more advanced use cases. And I'm not sure if you just wanted me to share my screen instead.
Probably would have been easier if you had.
And then here, you know, this whole idea, this is something that I think has been around even before I came in, but, you know, this whole idea of not letting your media live in a silo. And one, you know, from a medium perspective, one place that we differentiate is we even enable you to work with text files. So you can bring in your audio, video, and text, and actually find things across all your files, regardless of the medium. So here, we have this point about easily finding anything you need across all your files. And this is about the database building, but also how we help you find anything and navigate to anything within your entire library. The second point, and this is a part that we're really excited about building out as well, is just how best to actually surface insights. So you need to do less manual data analysis. And we just help you by being like, hey, here's what you need. And the final point is just this whole idea, once again, of simplifying your workflow and organizing everything you need in one place. So a lot of improvements have been made, which is great. And, just because of the team, we are constantly improving features. And if anyone has feedback, we're always happy to hear that. And then just some testimonials from some great customers of ours.
A few things before you stop sharing the screen. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, one more time, last time, and we are good. Okay, so if you go up a little bit, over here, yeah, one more. Yeah, in the deep search, let's put an image which has the more bars, so users can see how to see that. It's sort of a one segment, and also the if you scroll down, the sentiment analysis is so neutral, which is not like our life. It sounds like, okay, so let's have some more ups and downs in the sentiment, which has more video or audio from another account, which is fantastic. And also now because we want to touch one more thing, Nihal, you already touched on the transcription and media as a team, organizing your transcript, which we also included the bulk edit and the management options. We change also the little bit UI for ease and the navigations on the interface. So this is pretty good.
Good. Thank you. I did my best. That was hard. I was like, do I go up, do I go down? Do I leave it in the same spot? And I think, that quote from Rachel was wonderful. And, a little bit beyond that was like the idea of, this is a very big deal for their company. So when you're managing a lot of people, if you're saving, microseconds, but then seconds for every single action, that adds up very quickly in a business case. So one of the main reasons why we've seen, even in some cases, I think the system adopted is really we've focused on, our best we can is efficiency of navigating through these libraries. And from some feedback from a couple of people who are big supporters of the team, they said, if you continue to build products around, or your solution around speed, there's a lot of power that comes from it. So when we're asking, ourselves, hey, what do we build next? Or what do we want to do? If we ask, is this going to increase the speed that our customers can complete their jobs at? Then, and if that is yes, then there's more priority on that than no. So lots of really interesting feedback that came from that. I'm really excited from a person who had been using WordPress forever. That's not a very good example, but just like bulk editing of features or bulk editing of, multiple files. I shared that before, but one of the first bulk things we did was bulk exports of transcripts after I had a mental breakdown, trying to do it myself manually for like 30 files. And I'm like, this is horrible. And we have technology. Why would we make anyone do this? So really excited to see that part come in, and it adds a lot of benefits to our system.
We can go on another topic, which is supporting the customer and changing from Drift to Intercom. And even if you see the screenshot, we moved to the Intercom in the last couple of weeks. And there are reasons, because when you build a product and when you build a company, it is not just about the technology or how innovative you are or how much you want to put the efforts. It is also more emphasized on how are you willing to support your customers. And we all are deeply, I would say, deeply having understanding about not just give them the good product or the good solution, but at the same time, do the best to support the customer at any time. And before, why we moved from Drift to Intercom, there are a lot of reasons, and I can also touch upon that. But one was because the team management was the issue, and everyone had even the small team, everyone knows what type of expertise they got and how quickly they can help to the customer. So one thing we are going to do on the Intercom is understanding about the team's expertise and trying to navigate and bifurcate the questions or the issues or the recommendation from customer to individual. Let's say it is more about the security or the privacy. the best person in the team is the Lauren. So let's try to navigate those questions to Lauren. So also make sure the customers are happy and have the satisfied answer, not just the theoretical or something like so. So that was the one part we moved on the Intercom. And also they have a lot of product in a product. What does that mean? They created the inbound, the outbound, also setting the whole pipeline to understand where is the customer is coming from, and if it is a lead user or not, and help you to understand what are the needs from this customer. So that is helping a lot, and we're still trying to get best out of the Intercom. And even if you are in the early stage company, they do provide quite a bit of a good pricing rate for a 1 year. So you also can apply, and which we did. So these are the couple of insights from the Intercom. We definitely can touch more on that.
Is there anything on Intercom we could be doing like a better job of?
Almost heard that, Lauren.
Oh, sorry. Is there something on Intercom that we can be doing like a better job of?
What we can do better job of, one is absolutely the customer support, having the understanding about what are the equations. The second thing is like the help center. So if you search for the security or Intercom, because of the help center and the articles, it is automatically going to start populating the suggested articles. So if you take more than 5 minutes on an hour, they already got a couple of insights or the answers. So that's another piece that helped them quicker.
Yeah, we're not getting a wild amount of live chats, but we still get some good ones come in, and we're not always there right away to respond with a perfectly good question. But someone the other day asked, can I search for keywords in the transcript, which is a pretty standardized question that people come into the system with, and like that resource is ready. Intercom can give them the answer without any human intervention on that point. And I think one of the things that sticks out to me is like where did one of the biggest frustrations come from was, and this is like, it sort of speaks to what we're trying to accomplish too, was like a drift was okay, but they had a breakdown in the workflow. And to me, one of the biggest breakdowns in the workflow was that we could no longer connect it with our live chat channel in Slack. And so all of a sudden we were missing out on notifications, and them sort of sunsetting one of the ways that they had done that was sort of a frustration in our own workflow that really triggered us to look for other solutions and then land on Intercom. So, I don't know exactly what I'm saying there. Just like I think that's a really good insight into why we switched to a different solution, and also an insight to maybe why someone would look at Speak as a solution here for what we're doing. So, and then just to add, like overall, I think one of the reasons, or one of the ways you can differentiate in an early stage, the small team, is customer support. Talking, caring, going beyond, beyond what they would reasonably even sometimes expect to deliver value. And, sometimes people say, maybe you can't scale that, but my goal is to be able to scale customer support and make it a huge core part of our business. If we can make our customers happy, just like Intercom's made us happy, people will talk about it. They'll start talking about it, like Vats was talking about it in this office hours here today. So we want to build advocates of our business through great customer support. And also we learn so much from them. We, as much as people learn from our system, we learn from people. And so want to continue that process and feedback loop.
Can you guys think of like any other ways that we can scale customer service more? Because I feel like we've made some good improvements just from Intercom, and Intercom handles a lot of it automatically with its own AI and whatnot.
Yeah, absolutely. The one solution they have is the sort of a custom board. So you can create, after having more understanding about what type of questions we get through the chat on the website or even in the app, we can create the whole pipeline about automatically resolve their questions or answer from the article. So even we don't need to answer each questions until the impact is the critical on their end. And we also can ask the questions before even it sends to us. So for an example, how much impact is it? Is it critical, lower, or moderate? If it is a critical, and then we can put a couple of more questions about in which segment you are having an issue. Transcription, okay, or embeddable recorder, fine. Then we can also try to help them or understand to the root level of the problem, so we can save time and also scale the system at the same time, because that definitely can reduce 80% of the query. which we might not even need to address those questions. Does this help?
Sure. Yeah, go ahead, Timothy.
Nihal, I'm sure that you also wanted to say something, but on to this part, many of the questions that we saw were coming about the functionality. How would I achieve a particular outcome? So actually shooting into tutorials or screencasts for particular use cases might be another solution to scale our customer support.
Yeah, hopefully, ideally, through the UI or through the documentation on our site, they don't even have to ask that question. That's, I think, would be the best outcome that we see. But overall, it's nice to get what we have now. Another thing with Intercom is like much easier time capturing, like even the name and email of people, so that we can follow up. Because what was happening, it was horrible. Like, you have these great questions on Drift, you'd miss it by 4 minutes, and they're gone off the site, and you could never find these people again. Like, and it's like, oh, we could have solved this for you, and now you're gone. Here, see you later. So, that's a huge thing, especially when you're early learning and also acquiring customers, to miss out on opportunities like that. So, I think that's another piece. Speed is always, anytime, we've all had the experience of making a phone call for customer support and sitting there for 45 minutes while it plays elevator music and getting frustrated minute by minute until you almost want to hang up. So the quicker that we can respond, even if it's automated to give some insights and then respond manually, the better we do for our customers. Yeah.
And that should come from the genetics of the company. That is not something like you can build upon over year. It should be something from your genetics when you build a company, and that's what we are heading towards. Just like make sure we do our best to support customers as quickly as possible at any cost.
Good. Okay. All right. Oh, Lauren, go ahead. No, Lauren, do it.
Maybe not at any cost. I don't know. I feel like there's.
Oh,
yeah. No. That's the thing, right? I mean, okay, you can build the technology. There are hundreds and thousands of companies who build the technology, but okay, the IP or the innovations, that's a one part which always you can do. But how you're gonna get more onboard users who trust your product or trust your service? So, I mean, let's on the technological end, the best company is one of the best company, I believe, is the Stripe. So Stripe customer success department is like so active, you can get on a call within a minute or two to anyone. Even that's a large company who is processing the payments and stuff, either or the Amazon. I mean, those are the big companies, and we see even the market is like, why do you get frustrated? Why do you want to move from the Drift? They have a beautiful chat, integrations, everything. Why did we move? So there are a lot of reasons behind supporting customers at any cost.
Stripe sticks out to me too. Like we've had a couple of calls with Stripe, and they just like call immediately on the phone. It's always a very helpful person. So you can really feel the difference as a user of technology or companies. Especially, I mean, if we expect people to pay more, we got to have some good support there. So for us to get to the next level, like obviously there is a self-serve model where we try to add some automation and stuff, but overall we want to do good stuff. And so quickly, I know we got a couple other topics. I just want to share this quickly. Right, I said quickly twice. Now it's 3 times. This is just this edit sort of feature. So quick, I just want to share about this. I did a quick test before this, and everything's beautiful. But just this idea of bulk editing. And so it seems, again, maybe it seems like such a simple feature, but when you're managing, once you cross a threshold, I'd say what, 3? I don't know. I get frustrated after 3. They say like once you do something 3 times, you should figure out how to automate it. So this idea here is, let's, do this. So it's just, off it. Oh, sorry, I get nervous when people are watching me type. Sorry, everyone. Oh my God. All right, there we go. Update all, should have a little refresh, and all of a sudden the tags are edited. So you can do that across description and a ton of different things within it. So, just for quick use and management, especially when you're doing data cleaning and organization and analysis, this is like a really important part. And sometimes people get so excited about the analysis part, but unless you have things organized properly, you're not going to be able to do that right. So in one last part, I just want to show sort of these export options. And this is a big piece for us too, because people were wanting to export in different ways. And we would start to see, so we started to give a lot more, including obviously the normal typical stuff that we've done, Word doc and PDF and SRTs, but we've also added some really nice ways to do CSV. And one thing that I'm really excited about is even giving access to JSON data as well too. And when you do that, you also have the ability to customize what you're doing, so, or what you want. So if I don't want timestamps, I don't want the visualizations, but I want the speaker names, I can do that, hit export all, and all of those will be created for me automatically. So just really happy with seeing that process. And I feel like we're getting to a stage where the company, where the product or the system is more mature. And at some points we were going like, you know, constantly like massive jumps in iteration of like what we wanted to add to the system. And now it's like, here are improvements. And again, I think those improvements are much more aligned with what we've talked about or heard some of the benefits, which is reducing administrative labor, increasing speed, these things that our customers care about most. So just wanted to share that quickly. I guess any thoughts on that? Tim, you did a bunch of work on that. I'm not sure if there's anything else that you two are thinking on that part.
Go ahead, Dean.
Mute, Tim. That's why you're thinking. Yeah, mute. There you go. You're on mute, sir. You're on mute.
Well, we don't have much necessarily.
So what were your thoughts when you were building the export options? Anything you want to say is like what were your thoughts when you worked last week on the export options and the audio, video, and text combined?
I mean, the only reason that we did build it was that nobody else really does it. In order, I would have to do that, all of that manually. And I'm glad that we did it for our corporate clients. It's corporate and individuals really who do have lots of media could benefit from that. Just a short thought.
I know it's sort of like, you know, 値𝗲 talked about sort of like database management at the start, but for me, this is also, you know, I curated as my own personal data management. So for me to be able to, for example, organize by tags across all, then visualize different things is a very valuable thing, both personally and on a corporate level. I think also just, you know, Tim, you and I did a lot of work on more of this, I think CSV sort of, you know, insight packed export, which all of a sudden took, you know what, in the past, there was a pretty big process to go from transcript to analysis or, you know, doing the insight work yourself. And here we've gone and included that insight for you in an easy to use, easy to digest format. So I'm really excited about that and excited to see more use and adoption of CSVs for analysis of the content we're creating.
Well, that's also interesting because the users we're targeting with, for example, 𝗕cie or JSON expert are a particular group of people who would be willing to spend their time or actually utilize their skills of data science and who do have access to Google Data Studio or some other visualization platforms that, not visualization, but just data mining platforms such as Power BI or whatnot, that might help them. And it is another avenue and really value that the system could provide to specialists in their fields, in corporate and in analysis sector.
And just something, you know, I've been thinking about it, which is like, what are we, you know, of course, what are we trying to do? And that's what I was talking about it yesterday, but it's like, you know, really part of it, is like harnessing the power, you know, of language and data science to make life better for people, you know, and I think that that's something that I really care about. I know that everyone on the team here cares about, and, you know, by giving more democratized access to some of this stuff, I think we can bridge the gap for a lot of people to derive value out of the language, out of media that's being created. So I know that's a mission that I care about a lot. I know you guys do, and just trying to figure out how to articulate that even better so that people see just how beautiful communication is, language is, and what we can learn from it in so many different ways. So I have been drinking way too much water, so I'm going to be returning in about a minute. You guys carry on and I'll join.
All right. Okay. On the bulk edit side too, which we see the use cases about in the team management, especially because there are like, let's say 100 people working in a team, and they also want to manage or assign those media to one of the team member to work upon. So that was the big change on also on the team management side. So to support that. That is critical, and also the important what we say also on the website homepage about the workflow.
On the topic of these like incremental improvements here, what are you guys focusing on next? What do you think is the next big improvement that you're looking into?
Big improvements on the enterprise and the B2B side. The one is the folder layout, or supporting the folder to structure your data in such a way that you can visualize, you can have more insights, you can create the reports, you can do a lot of more stuff once you have that structural data. We still have in the, I wouldn't say old style table format, but still it's a table format. And the another option is like, what type of column do you want to display when you come to any media page or the text page to support that. So those are the two big things. I personally believe is going to change a lot of workflow, because let's say we don't have, we talk about audio, video, and text combined analysis, but we still don't, apart from the tags, we don't have any layout where you can put all your media in one, subfolder and try to see what comes out. So that's the one thing. Also in terms of the analysis, understanding about what's going on, and a lot of dots are automatically connected. Hope that makes sense.
Yeah, so lots of work on like segregating data to analyze different patches, if you will.
Even let's say exporting just the whole folder and put the whole folder on your Google Drive, putting the whole folder analysis with the inside description, create the different podcasts or different analysis, different workbenches, I would say, to understand what is going on and try to see the sentiment even by the folder, not just by the media. That's the huge improvement. Let's say 2019, 2020, whatever, if you're doing podcast or even in the medical field, you can try to bifurcate by the year and see what's going on. The current solution is, of course, the tags or the creation date. That works fine, but it's still the bifurcated with the audio, video, and text right now.
I think the folders will be pretty major, like, because I think at that point, not only are you adding a layer of organization, but it'll probably be easier to get cleaner data just by virtue of being able to organize, right? So to your point, if you have, I don't know, like a series, a webinar series, and you have a series of blog posts that support that webinar series, now you can just organize it by, webinar X, and then get repurposing stuff from that folder. So I think that would be huge. I guess we'll see how that plays out and how that's designed. I'm partial to grids, but we'll see. We'll see how that.
Because it is also connected. Let's say if I want to share a file, I need to click 50 times right now to share a video or something to you. Exactly. Or right now it's a manage or assign to option, but still then you can just choose a folder and share to the whole team, and the whole team will have access. But at the same time, you are maintaining your privacy or the security even within the team management, or even on the public platform. So that's going to be the big change for the management side.
Well, it's a beautiful thought. Google Drive really does it well, and we might as well look up to them.
I think just one thing that, it's definitely more, I wouldn't say it's abstract, but, I'd like to build up those use cases better, but we've talked about it before, is like this just idea of comparison. Like could you compare one folder, like one, say with Neil's example, one webinar versus another webinar series, you know what I mean? What are the differences between those two? And they did a webinar series, and this one, the net promoter score or the feedback they got in this one was 50% higher. So why is that? What were they talking about? What was the reason that is? And so by building sort of that comparison ability within the systems by even something like that, a lot of power unlocks. So I get really excited about that. Obviously, I've spent many years looking at analytics data and Google Ads data and trying to say to my clients, why is this going up or why is this going down? And, learning from that. And, when you can add that sort of context, we add another layer of value within our system that other systems are not providing yet. So I get very, very pumped about the future of what that looks like. So I guess we're going to find this.
Oh, that was a good question from Lawrence. So that was a really good question.
Anything else before we move on to Timmy's topic here? Okay, no, Timmy, you're on the spot, buddy.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
just as a funny
Oh,
point.
ni
No,
hao.
like as a
Alright.
this has nothing to do with anything. But I read this funny thing where it was like, why do we call Timothy's Tims, right? Why is it not moth? So like so I'm thinking we should start referring to Tim as moth from now
Oh,
on.
okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry,
Tim
the floor
responds.
is yours,
Go
Tim.
ahead, go ahead.
Just looking at this. You're seeing the right thing, I guess.
That looks like
Oh,
them.
was
Yeah,
it?
that makes sense.
Tim wasn't sure
Right.
what moth was. I looked that up.
T, you know.
Careful with your screen there, Tim. It's always scary when you're sharing on a public YouTube video.
Well, it's a good question. Well, besides this, why is it so? Perhaps because we didn't respond to that very well. And I think that we should establish this topic I think we should establish a feedback loop over our, well, essentially a team's performance. And in a way, we either respond and we meet set expectations and call it somewhat of a success each sprint or not. And you would argue that in the business, the most important metric that you may have is monthly recurring revenue. Or perhaps if you're product centric, you could say it's user retention. Or you could say that in our case, one of our North Stars was how many media were analyzed in the platform. And there are many of these metrics that we've gone through and we're looking into right now. But what really stands out as, by the way, excuse me for there's some reconstruction going on right outside my window, but we want to be measuring performance of our team on a much more, with a frequent rate, so that we can check in on ourselves and see how is it that we're impacting those North Star metrics in the first place, sort of that middle ground. And frankly, we do not, Nihal and I were working on this and brainstormed a couple of interesting solutions, but the very first one is actually to, well, measure the whole organization's performance. That is ROI, how much money is going in and out. And on the front end side, there are interesting metrics such as impressions on the website, signups, interactions with tools that do give us an estimate of how engaging is our product, how engaging is our thought and movement, or a brand on its own. And these numbers really enable us to see how much goes in. On the other side is the backend, the application, the outputs, the value that we produce with our technology, our services, and with everything that we've been building so far. And this ROI is yet to be defined. We're working on that. But to answer this simple question, whether we're on aggregate meeting our own expectations or not, on aggregate of the whole organization, whether we're meeting some of those expectations or not, and whether we're growing or not, or what would be the opposite of growing? That's an interesting question, but it'll enable us to see a larger picture instead of, for example, many would say that a sprint performance in development, for example, is how many features were pushed. We could, for example, go a little bit more detailed. How many QA tests were done? How many fixes are going to be needed after after it went in, and you could optimize a node. I just recently talked to a team of developers in Compass Digital Labs, and those guys were, I'm not sure, but they called it stamp or the trunk process. What they do is that they push code hourly into their branches, into the development branch, to the queue, to allow for a QA. And it's really done because the organization is so large and there are so many development teams. That's a way to optimize performance of a development team. I'm sure that Nihal, Tyler, you might have, you definitely will have good ways to measure your own performance, such as, well, acquisition. Customer acquisition cost is one of them. And those metrics truly define performance of marketing in the front end of the company. And you could go detailed as well. There are many frameworks you could apply and figure out how to optimize those numbers. And that also makes sense. So for each department, you have those metrics that can really measure every nitty and gritty detail of your own process. But coming back to this this more important ROI perspective, all this matters, but needs to be tied in together. So been working on that for, we're going to see if this is actually going to help us. But once we do establish it, this funnel from front end to back end, we'll see how can we impact our I guess success, really, week after week, as we do every Monday on our stand-up meetings. So that's a thought.
I guess to feed off of that, right? Because and I'm going to try to summarize that. I think it's this idea of, you know, like �𝗲𝗁, you've like, this is something you've helped instill in me a little bit more as well as, you know, like, for example, any meeting we have as well.
Mhm.
Now I try to like leave with takeaways, right? It's like, what do we act on and how do we maybe track the success of those actions that were taken? So when it comes to, I guess, cross-departmental and even just total organizational metric tracking, I think it's important for us to look at, you know, all the pieces that lead to, because yeah, you know, definitely with time restraints and stuff, you can maybe go to like more granular than is maybe necessary. But I think there is also validity in, for example, you know, on the marketing side as an example, right? If I were to take like a product approach to marketing where it's like, or just outcomes based approach, right? It's, we released a new set of emails, right? Based on, you know, assumption, this is the assumption. We think this is what's going to happen. Here are the results. So I almost feel like sometimes even on the total product side, if we start looking at, okay, you know, we, with some of these changes we've made, right? How do we drive successful usage of these features, for example, right? So, you know, does that involve sending out an email campaign around it, right? Does it involve customer education through Intercom? And how do we achieve these success metrics for these things that we're building to actually give us a sense of whether, you know, what we've, the hypothesis we made about, okay, you know, bulk edit, for example, right? Bulk edit is something that is useful for our customers. Can we validate that through usage, right? I think that's the ultimate validation of whether something works for people. And how do we track that, right? I don't think it necessarily needs to be as granular as like a weekly check-in, at least not in our current capacity. But even then, it's like, okay, we have, our overall metric of weekly active users, but then it's also, do we maybe need metrics for per feature, right? Like weekly active users of the media player, weekly active users of the transcript editor, right? To kind of give us a sense of how maybe our product usage is also evolving over time.
Is it team more touch on the team performance or the feature performance? Because I thought it was more about the team performance and how much you are impacting, and that is affecting your role as what you do in each department. That's affecting to the overall business ROI. Because then the feature performance and tracking the features has the whole different story than as an individual, what type of impact you are creating on day-to-day basis.
I don't know if it was, sorry. Yeah.
Well, I consider that a part of the deal. Feature use is ultimately how well are we solving users' problem, and we have direct impact on that.
I don't think it's like, I agree with your point, Faisal, like it's less team performance. I guess like it's just more team performance in the sense of product or company performance, right? Like in terms of our North Star metrics, because I feel like it's going to be a bit tough and maybe might get a bit nasty if we start.
The only question is like, what is the objective? It's like, okay, what is the objective? The objective is the business has the more ROI, having the more users, more customer, more business, more subscription. What is the objective, right? Because what team touch upon the different departments, and let's touch on the development side or the engineering side. It's like, okay, with the 5 people of team, does it really matter to see how many times you push to the code to the GitHub, or how many times you do? Because it is also depends on your team size. Okay, you read in the books, you talk, you listen from, let's say, the Amazon engineer, Google engineer. They have the different story because they are integrating a large team in the small team, and they are working on the one product. Then they need to perform or make sure everyone is aligned with their engineering goal. But with the 5 team, let's say if I stop working, or if teams stop working, let's say on the engineering side for a week, you all gonna see on the next day that, guys, what is going on? We are having 15 bugs in the list, no feature update. So it is very transparent, right? Or let's say you stop working on the marketing, or Tyler stop talking to investors. I mean, it is a real impact within a day or 2.
So, well, you could go detailed on this indeed and say that, but that's the point, not to go as detailed as we're saying. How many times do you push code will not matter. And I would actually challenge, how about we, now that we've pushed our TypeScript stability, so in the past month, well, starting this quarter, we've established that we do want to achieve stable environment, development, and just in our development side, technically stable. So if we achieve that, and we do leave the product and development for a week, I would say not much is going to necessarily change. The bugs, yeah, we'll increment them. Let's say we'll find 5 more. And
it is more about, let's say you stop working completely, right? The organization gonna see that there is no update going on. It is not about on the user.
Yes,
it is on the organization.
Correct. But then with this funnel, you'd be able to say whether, well, have it impacted ROI? If you've stopped, if you would still be giving yourself a salary, but you didn't do anything, would that really change ROI over a week? And I would argue, maybe not. Maybe it's smaller than.
No, it is not going to impact over the week, but you see next year that everything cracks down, and okay, it is going in a different direction, but back to you.
Well, no, I would entertain that thought, but
I would too, yeah.
Yeah, I guess. Oh, sorry, Tyler, you go first.
I mean, Neil and I talked about it yesterday, though, right? Like Neil is looking at his success and says, "Great, I tripled traffic or whatever the exact number is, and I've got, went from 2 signups a day to 15 signups a day." But if none of those people convert and become, monthly users or paying users of the system, is that truly a success? Like there's different ways that we need to measure this, and obviously as a business owner, it's my responsibility to look at the financial success of the business. Like, it's not always the most fun thing to have to focus on, but if there is no focus on that, there's no fun that we get to do here.
Yeah.
So there's that piece. Like one of the metrics that I really like, I don't know if you remember, Ketan was the first one I ever really heard it from, was revenue per employee. And I thought that was an amazing metric. And I don't know, I won't disclose exactly what ours are. We've had really good months, and I don't know why I would have to look over the whole year to see, but like, I forget exactly what he said. That's about maybe like $1 million per employee. And I was like, holy shit.
200,000. Yeah.
Was it 200,000? Okay, that's not so bad. No, for some reason I thought it was $1 million. And I'm like, okay, because that's a huge sign of health. And of course, you're not able to necessarily measure individual impact because one person's a salesperson, one person's an engineer. But overall, it's showing you a lot of healthiness in the company if that is bigger than what you're paying the employees as well as the expenses on top. So I think we've tried to take some approaches at this. I'm still hope that we're going to continue on this Speak AI business metrics sheet that I've built, because I thought there were a lot of top line metrics. And I know that you guys then went and did some weekly ones, which I think are important for tracking. But I would like to say what you can get lost in is over analysis or over measurement of everything. And what we need to figure out is, okay, what things, just like we do with features, what ones can we deprioritize and which ones can we prioritize that are making the most significant impact on our business? Most significant impact on our business, obviously, in terms of revenue and growth, but also our customers' happiness and also our own team's happiness too. So all of that has a factor in what we're doing here.
It has absolutely highest impact, because if the person who is working on something is not happy, it is not going to make it anything worth it. There's no point of considering ROI, blah, blah, blah. These numbers doesn't matter if person is not happy. So okay, even with the small team up to 15, 20 people, I'm so much down to having the understanding that there's no point of to do the micromanagement at that level, to perform, to have that what's called the performance level mindset is like, or metrics level mindset is like, because you track every single thing on every second, that's not going to make it more impact, because then you're stuck in that mindset about just tracking everything, and you lose the another side of it, because you lose the momentum, you lose the happiness, you lose a lot of things, even the motivation, because 1 week, because of many things happen in our life, you might not performing that well. That doesn't matter what you did in last 6 months. So it is also more about having maturity and understanding about where to track and what to track and what size. So that also impact on the business. That's my point of view.
Here we see this happen when you look at public companies who have to do quarterly earnings reports, right? And then they start to prioritize things in the short term that also might not be good for the long-term viability or success of the company. And so if we're, I have lots of thoughts about this, and I think, this is a good topic to bring up. But I also think, obviously we have some sort of a short-term mindset sometimes as a startup, but at the same time, you're making huge sacrifices or errors in the short term if you're not thinking of long-term. So, it really is a balance between all of this, but I do agree with that. So about the happiness of what you have. And, if you're not happy doing the work that you're doing, who cares if you're measuring performance? You know what I mean? You're not going to do a good job. You should be doing the work that you're doing, which would normally take a person 8 hours, but you can execute in an hour because you're so excited and focused on it. And if you're not following that, then there is going to be a conflict and friction in the work that's happening. And, that's not the kind of team and, environment that we're trying to create here as well too. So I think that's important for us to consider to focus on. But I go back to quickly asking, myself, now is I really did like that insight that came from us. It's a lot of people like our product because of speed. And if we're helping with speed of the company and also we're helping with speed of ourselves, then all of a sudden we can learn faster, we can provide more value. And it's an exciting thing to rally around as we sort of prioritize moving forward. Okay.
Well said.
Yeah, everyone. All right, Tim, any last thoughts on this, sir?
Well, I see it more of as one just last thought, but I see it more of as a learning loop. Well, nobody calls me Moth. You guys learned.
That's true. Well, and I'll just add to that. There is an important piece, because one of the challenges here, and I remember that's when I was early stages of Speak, when no one was using Speak, the worst thing was getting no feedback. There was no feedback loop. There was no learning from it. And you know, for sometimes I think there is a stage in companies. This is something I'm trying to figure out, which is you don't necessarily know, you don't necessarily know what that loop is, or exactly what that thing is that you're trying to accomplish to do. That's that indicator of success, especially when you're diversified across different tasks. Like, you know, for us to hop into, you know, Lauren and that's when I jump into a GDPR meeting, you know, yesterday and talk about stuff like that. We're not going to talk about that, don't worry. But you know, like you're put into different environments where all of a sudden your metrics of success or the impact that you're having change dramatically. And you know, there's different times when you're, again, when you're in a bigger company, you're put into a very small, little narrow lane. And it's like, you know, one of my friends, for example, his only job was to manage about $9 million in Google ad spend. His only job was, can you improve the cost per acquisition of this? And that was all he woke up every day, was spent that. And if at the end of the month or in the week, that was all he went back and did. So like, in some ways, I hope that we can get there. In some ways, what drew me to the startup culture and being an entrepreneur in the first place was not having that, and having excitement, having diversity of the tasks that you're doing, and being able to sort of flip in between the different tasks that you're doing and seeing new challenges and being able to tackle those. So I think, Tim, this is worthwhile discussions and something we need to implement in our company, especially as you look at continuing to grow the company, hiring people on, and also making people feel clear about how can I make an impact, and then them getting a learning loop of, oh, I am making an impact, or, oh, I'm not making the impact that I hope. Here's now what I can do better. And whether that's performance reviews that are more qualitative, where you talk together, or if there's more quantitative measures, like what you mentioned, you know, bugs per push of a GitHub branch. There's lots of different ways that we can look at this. But in the end, you know, this is a gradual process that needs to be implemented in the company, no matter what we do.
That's well said again. I just want to poke in that, yes, feedback loops are very important, but there's like different types of feedback loops, and like some of them are more beneficial than others. Like in my opinion, it's probably better to, you know, listen. You're probably going to have a better idea of what problems the product is facing from actually talking to you know, customers, as opposed to you know, watching your churn rate, because that's just a number that can fluctuate. But it's not like everything that you do influences that number. You know, churn rates kind of rise and fall mostly because of, you know, the customers. Maybe the product and the customer isn't a good fit, or maybe there is actual problems, and you're not going to find those problems just by looking at the numbers. You have to actually, you know, interact and understand like what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Just last thought. It is all, at the end, it is all about the compound effect. It's simple equation. It's compound effect. How we are making changes every day, it's going to add up at the end. So it's either it's personal, professional, anything. It's business. It's at the end is the compound effect. If you're not making a change a day, you're going to see at the end of the year, or either or. So that is simple as that.
Yes, you know, well, we're getting close to wrapping this up here, but there's just, you know, two things that have stuck out to me too, which is like, also worried about this compounding effect. And for example, like, you know, the Speak website's been live for 3 years, and now we're seeing compounding effects from domain age and authority, and us being able to rank things and actually seeing people find us and come through. And there's a lot of times in the past where, again, we would develop a feature, not till 6 months later is it even adopted at a high enough level that we would consider it a success at all. And, you know, I'm reading this book, the Venture Deals book. Venture capitalists, when they're doing their fund, they don't know if they've succeeded until 10 years later. You know, like there's a huge gap sometimes. I remember one of the Roham would always say, and I never fully understood, but I understood a little more now, which is revenue is a lagging indicator. And that's why so many people focus on retention and usage and the user experience of the application, because if you can nail that down, then the revenue will come. If you build something that's truly valuable, then the revenue will come. And then lastly, just was like, you know, talk about sort of qualitative versus quantitative data. And from my own experience, I mean, we had this Recently we were looking at for example, some drop off on the onboarding, and it was like a number that stood out. And then with a little bit more qualitative analysis, it was like, oh, this wasn't as big a number as we thought. So, whether that's using like systems like Hotjar or LogRocket or things like that, you can learn a lot very quickly. And or it's just, again, a conversation with the customer. You can learn so much from that compared to just quantitative measures. So, I guess it's 1:04 Eastern Standard Time. Any other thoughts before we wrap up Office Hours 30? Thanks. So this was a great one.
Good one.
It's always good when like everybody's here. Always
Yeah.
lots of conversation.
Absolutely.
Well, people come with, I like when, Tim came with the topic, lots of thought on it, obviously lots of thinking, and that lots of, so it makes a difference. So, but I feel good. Thanks for everyone for listening, watching, reading, whatever you're doing. Appreciate you guys joining here today, and hope you have a beautiful Friday here as we wrap up the summer here in Canada. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much.